This is your go-to podcast for the breaking news across the NFL, while breaking down how this might affect your fantasy team's success. Are you ready to be a champ? Then welcome to Fields of Fantasy.
Welcome to Fields of Fantasy. It's your boy Dowie, and we are back. Been a long layoff, first episode since the Super Bowl, but we've enjoyed the off season. We've got the information. Jonny B is still on the ACL list, so we have drafted in our new rookie, Josh. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Oh, yeah.
So, Josh, before we start getting into it, who's your team?
My team is the Houston Texans, unfortunately.
How did you think they did last season?
Better than I thought. Well, yeah, better than I thought they would. I thought second season syndrome for Stroud would have kicked in a little bit more. Made the playoffs, bit of a run. Can't moan at that.
Yeah, I agree. I actually quite enjoyed watching them last season. I thought defensively one of my favourite teams to watch. But
Yeah.
we'll go into deeper when we go through the divisions. So our first show back, and we are going to hit the AFC divisions. We're going to go through the betting odds for divisional winners and our thoughts on what they've done off season. So we will start with the AFC East, and these odds are with our betting partner, fanteam. They've got a brand new sports book, so you can get all your bets there. We will have some promotional deals with them as well, so look out on the links to see them. So their odds are, and they're in decimal, so they're slightly different to Sky and Paddy Power. So basically, the Bills are 134. So if you bet £1, you get 134 back. The Pats are 620. So you're getting 620 back on that. The Dolphins are 840. So off £1, you're getting 840 back. And the Jets are 19. So I think we start off with the Bills off season. They've signed all their good players. Josh Allen got a deal. Shakir got a deal. Greg, the edge rusher, got a deal. Benford, Bernard. They've brought in Josh Palmer as a weapon, which I quite like. In the draft, they drafted Hairston, Sanders, Jackson. So they've concentrated on the defense. For me, the Bills last season were one of the best teams.
Yeah.
They haven't really lost anybody. They've kind of structured the best players, got them all signed up in deals. I think Josh Palmer actually is an underrated player. So I watched him a lot through college, and he's a deep threat. We know Josh Allen's arm is big, so he has a weapon there. I'll be honest, I think the Bills are the favourites for that division, and I think they're just one of the better teams.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I think they had to address the defensive side of the ball. I think Josh Allen carried them a lot last season, with some kind of unknown talents out there, losing Diggs and players like that. I think looking forward to seeing what Kevin Coleman can do this year, second season, with his development. But I think the defensive side of it, they had to. They'd lost a lot of key players the year before with Poirier, Michael Hyde. Von Miller wasn't really performing, so they've had to address it. And I think they've done that really well this off-season.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they're so well coached, so the players come in and they do a job. So, yeah, I agree on the defensive side. Hairston is a freak of a cornerback as well. He's so quick. So, that's interesting. Their running game, actually, is quite solid as well. I watched their preseason game. And that Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, I think, you know what, they're going to do a job in a committee back there.
Yeah, I think when you've got James Cook as well, who's going to probably take most of it, you've still got the dual threat of Josh Allen, and then you add them two into it in third downs, and that Ray Davis in power plays, you get him to the red zone. I think he can cause some damage. So it'd be kind of like how Detroit used
Demont and Gibbs.
Yeah, and kind of once they get into that red zone, it's hard to stop them. So I think with the options that they've got and the tight end, you still think they've got Kincaid and players like that, and Dawson Knox. Like it's hard to really look past them.
Yeah, because I really like Shakir as well. I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers. Keon Coleman, I think that's the big one, how he moves up. Because he did actually start the season well. He had that injury. You look at his stats from when he got injured. So an off-season now as well. He might move it. I think Josh Palmer is not going to be a player, every week who does well. But I think he'll have game. When Gabe Davis was there?
Yeah.
some games he had 3, 4 touchdowns, and then he didn't get nothing from
Yeah,
them.
I
So
think I think Shakir going to help him out massively with because, like I say, using Gabe Davis as the example, they had Stefan Diggs out as being wide receiver one, who really took most of the sort of onus off him to be able just to go out and do what he needs to do and express himself. So I think Shakir probably played more in that slot, and then having Palmer and Coleman out on the edges, I think Allen's got some weapons. So I'm interested to see how he goes this year, coming off an MVP season. So he's obviously set his standard, and he needs to match that again this year.
yeah, I agree, and I think Bills are the favourites for a reason.
Yeah,
Like in
definitely.
in the AFC, I think they're in the top 3 best teams as well. So we'll move on to the Pats, who are 620. So good odds on the Pats. Their
Yeah,
off-season shuffles. Mike Vrabel's the biggest one for me. I think he's one of the best head coaches in football. They've brought back Josh McDaniels, the shitbag. He was a horrendous head coach at the Raiders. I hate the bloke, but as an offensive coordinator, he's had a lot of success. One of the best OCs in the game. Maybe that's just what he is, a very good OC. So I think that's an improvement for the Pats as well. They've brought in Stefan Diggs, who gives them that true wide receiver one, what they've been missing. Defensive side, where we know Vrabel's very good, they brought in Landry, Spillane at the Raiders last year. I'm telling you, I was gutted we lost him. They got Morgan Moses on the offensive line to help out Drake May. They've also drafted Will Campbell in. He was the best tackle in the draft. Running
definitely.
game, they've brought in Henderson and Kyrie Williams, another wide receiver, who second round pick, I believe. In college, he looked very good. Now we don't really know how they turn in the pro games, but it's another weapon. I think the biggest thing for the Pats is Mike Vrabel is a successful head coach. With the Titans, who was never a very good team, he got them to number one seed. I think you ask most Titans fans that they didn't want him to go. So I think
No.
with that and Josh McDaniels, I think coaching wise they're in a better position. They've brought in now help for Drake May, who I thought Drake May had a good rookie year. Thought he looks
Yeah,
a good quarterback, so he's got weapons and an offensive line. They've brought in some talent on defense. So I think the Pats have a successful year. I think they're probably a couple of seasons away, to be honest, for really
yeah.
testing the Bills.
I think they're probably an outside sort of bolter for a wild card place if they're lucky. I think, like you said, like Vibro being coming in is a massive get for them. Knows the league, knows how to win games in the NFL, knows the Patriots, knows what it means head coach, as you alluded to. But I think he's a very good coordinator. I think there's a lot of them coaches that are very good at coordinating that can't take that step to head coach. I think he's a prime, probably perfect example of that. They brought in Diggs. I'm interested to see what he does when he comes back from his injury.
Yeah, that'll be
Um,
interesting because they're not too sure if he makes the start of the season.
no, and then I think Drake May, from what I've read and what I've heard from people, the amount of work he's put in, I think they got like the system that they're running on the offense is what they used to run, what Josh McDaniel did when Belichick was there. They got people in, everyone in that organisation, top to bottom, knows that playbook, knows what to do. And Drake May's going to be leading that. I think he's going to have a real season this year. I think the running back Henderson, he's going to be a massive pickup. I think he'll help them get that play action in to be able to release the wide receivers. And Brabo loves a running back, so
Yeah,
I think they're, like you said, I think they're 2 years away from being a real contender if they can keep that group together. But I think if they take the strides that we can see, then I think they're going to be, and everyone stays healthy in and around it. I think in potentially battling for that wild card place.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I actually have them as the second best team as well in that division. Moved to Miami. They're 840. So basically 8-1. Their off season's actually been pretty poor, to be honest. They brought in Daniel Zagard, who's pretty good, so that will help protect Tua. They brought in Davron Waller, who the last time I seen was a hip hop rapper in off season. He's cooked. Like
Yeah,
follow him at the Raiders. That last season, you've seen his legs have gone. I don't. They've lost Jonny Smith and Ramsey, who were two big players for him. They did draft Kenneth Grant, who is a beast, and I do like him. So he will. He's actually a replacement for Wilkins when they lost him. They're weak at cornerback. We know Tua can't stay healthy all season, and they've brought in Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
That's not
that's
the answer.
nah, that's a massive thing. I think Tua's health is huge. I think they've struggled when he goes down, and
Yeah,
every season he's gone down. He hasn't gone a season where he's not picked up some injury, and it's not a game; it's multiple games that he's missing.
yeah. And
And then the
it,
Tyreek situation as well. That's not going to help when he's kind of they're begging him to play. They're trying to get him. I think this it's a real going to be a real tough season for him. Losing Jalen Ramsey,
yeah,
really got nothing back for him.
yeah,
They just wanted him out of the building, obviously after salary cap. So I think it's going to be a tough season. You can see that with their leader, who's meant to be Tyreek Hill, kind of wanting to jump ship by the sounds of what you hear him coming out of the Dolphins.
yeah. So the way I see Miami season, I think they're going to be a fun team to watch because they're weak on defense, but on offense when Tua's fit, they've got Hill, Waddle, Devin A. Chain,
Yeah,
and their coach Mohamed. He's offensive, so I think they will be a fun team to watch, but they're too weak on defense, and I just don't think. I don't even know they get a winning record, to be honest. But I do think they'll be a fun team to watch.
yeah. I think if they can get around about 400 record, they'd be really happy with that. But I think this season it's more consolidate, see what the situations are going to happen with. But like you said at the start, I think the Tua situation is probably their biggest one. Of if he can stay fit, they've got half a chance. If he doesn't, then that defense is in some trouble because they can't. They're going to be on the field a lot.
And it's like, if Tua gets another concussion, will he
Yeah,
ever
where
play again?
where'd you draw the line?
I don't know if he ever actually plays again.
Nah, I think he's I think that's going to be playing in their head and also his. You kind of see, look, he doesn't want to take a hit, doesn't want to stay in the pocket. So it's kind of he looks to throw early, get it out of there. I think it's not helping their situation where Tyreek Hill and Waddle are trying to get free, where their offensive line isn't the best. Armstead's retired, who's one of the best left tackles over the last sort of 7 to 8 years. He's gone, so their offensive line has never been the best anyway, and haven't really replaced it. Um, so yeah, I think they will struggle. But like you say, they can Tyreek Hill on his day can take the top off any defense. So
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I think they got a fun offense, a poor defense, so they're gonna be like if you're betting, you bet the over every game on that.
yeah, definitely.
So we'll go to the Jets, who are 19-1. Now, they brought in Aaron Glenn as head coach. He did an incredible job at Detroit.
Yeah,
Head coach we know is different. They drafted really well. Membu is a freak of a right tackle. They brought in Mason Taylor, really good tight end, and they brought in Thomas, a cornerback, who's really good. So there's even rumors. I don't know if you've seen it yesterday. They might be getting rid of Brees Hall.
but really,
Yeah, they're happy with Allen and Davis.
don't know
How
what you get
true
for
that
Brees
is,
Hall.
how true is that? I don't know, but that's what I've seen. You look at the weapons. I got Garrett Wilson, Lazard, Reynolds. I'll be honest, I don't really like. I like Wilson, but I don't love Lazard or Reynolds.
Nah, Lazard got a big bag as well, and he hasn't really hit that height. Obviously, when they brought in Aaron Rodgers, they brought Judge, but bring him into that Green Bay connection, and it hasn't really come to fruition. So, yeah, I
And
think
and what's your thoughts on Justin Fields?
I think this is make or break for him this year. Uh, I think obviously went the glimpses of what he can do as a dual threat, but never really solidated the starting QB role. So I think for me, I think this is make or break. I think he looks good, but I think the big question as well is they have drafted well, but what can Aaron Glenn do as a new first year head coach where the Jets have never really been very good at kind of keeping these head coaches and building them and developing them, giving them time. So
Yeah, like
um,
my thoughts with it is, I think the roster's always been pretty good. I thought Salah would have done well there, and they never done it.
yeah,
I do like Aaron Glenn. I don't know what he does. I don't like Justin Fields as a quarterback.
yeah,
I
I,
think as a running threat, he's elite. You know, he's up there with Lamar and Jaden Daniels, but I've just not seen enough. Like when you're playing someone like Josh Allen twice a year, they cannot outscore with Justin Fields.
no,
So I actually think they have a losing year, but I think that they'll look good because I like their offensive line. I like the defensive line where you build in the trenches. I just think that quarterback's the one what's going to stop them from competing.
yeah. I think you could be right. Like I said, that's why I think it's a big season for him. He's got to make a staple now, or he'll be one of them quarterbacks that you've seen that bounce around from team to team throughout the career, and he'll be a backup that steps in, and he'll never be any more because he's had opportunities and he hasn't really taken them. Um, but new system, new head coach. Yeah, he's got to pull something out. But like you say, I think on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, he's probably got one of the best offensive lines if they stay healthy. I think that's been a big thing at the Jets. They've always been playing with injuries. Someone's always injured. Um, but if they do stay fit, they have got a very good side, and it probably on paper looks a lot better than probably the Patriots or some of these other teams in that division. So, but it just
Yeah,
never seems to click for them.
yeah. I must admit, I like look at this. If I for the Fields of Fantasy accumulator, I can't go past the Bills.
No, no, I don't. I completely agree. I think the in that or like I say, we spoke before we come on air, and I think that's the one we were kind of all agreeing was nailed on. Um, just from what they've done, who they've brought in, and who they've retained, I think they've got to be up there with a shout. So
Yeah, and I think when you look at the other teams, the Pats, you see the hope, you see the path for them, but they're probably a couple of years away. Miami, they're going to be fun, but as soon as it gets cold, their offense always fucking freezes in a way.
yeah,
And the Jets, I'll be honest, I don't really know what to expect, but I guess a losing season.
yeah, I think the Jets will struggle unless Aaron Glenn can find a way of getting the best out of some of these players because they have got talent. So Sauce Gardner, Quinton Williams, they've got very good players on the defensive side of the ball and offensive. Garrett Wilson, like very underrated wide receiver, I think, but he always got a very high production. They just haven't been able to put that all together and get it out in the field. There's always been something that's going on. Um, so yeah, I think the Bills have pretty much got it now done.
Yeah, I agree. We'll move to the north. This one used to be a little bit more spicy, but I still have a clear one on this. So you got the Ravens at 1.63, the
Yeah,
Bengals at 3.55, Steelers at 640, and the Browns are at 30 to 1.
wow.
So we'll start with the Ravens. They re-signed their left tackle Stanley, free agency. They brought in some actually good veterans, I think. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins and Gia Alexandra from Green Bay, the cornerback.
Yeah,
They drafted studs though. They brought in Starks, Greens, Jones, Buchanan. Like them are four players. Like Green was meant to be a top 15 pick. Slipped to the second, they just took him.
yeah.
Ravens and the Eagles, I always say the two teams, all the good players just seem to fall to them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Starks as well. The is that the Georgian Georgia
Yeah,
safety?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's an absolute dog. I think he's you see him play for Georgia and he's everywhere. One of them players that's side to side that I think will fit into that Ravens mold. Of some of the great safeties that have played the game. So I think him with Cole Hamilton and players like that. I think yeah, they've really bolstered the defense, which has been their pinnacle for Harbaugh's sort of tenure, really.
Yeah, and you
Um,
always see Georgia players as well. They translate to the NFL better, don't they?
yeah,
They
definitely.
they just all do well.
Yeah, and I think, look, and on the offensive side, they haven't really lost anyone. They brought Stanley back. They've still got the two juggernauts in the backfield. And then they've brought in D Hop that's going to bring some veteran experience, hopefully in a deep playoff run if they can get there. I think they've again at some point they've got to be able to convert it in the big moments, and they haven't really yet.
Yeah.
But
But like
if they
Zay Flowers last season looked brilliant.
yeah
Bateman was better.
yeah.
You
They
know,
need Mark Andrews obviously struggled, but hopefully he's coming back this year for him because he's been a massive target for Lamar.
Isaiah Likely, he had a great,
Yeah, he stepped in as well. So I
you
think
throw D Hop in there, you got Derrick Henry. It's just
yeah,
the
I
O
think
line's good. They're coached well. Lamar's, he's when he plays well, he's unplayable.
yeah, I think that they've like you say, I think you touched on it massively there. The coach well, they've got very good fundamentals, and they're always one of them teams that no one wants to go and play because you know you're going to be in a fight. Um, and like you said at the start, the AFC North was always competitive of who's going to win it, but I think the Ravens have kind of pulled ahead a little bit
Yeah, I
um,
agree. Yeah.
with what they've brought in.
So yeah, I must admit, as it stands, and now there is two teams, but I think the Ravens are my number one in the AFC.
Yeah,
My top three are the Ravens, Bills, and the Chiefs.
yeah, I think it's hard. I think them two are now done. I think the Chiefs. I know we'll touch on them later on in the pod, but that yeah, they've
You just
got a few
can't bet
question
against them
marks.
fuckers, can you?
That's the problem. They found a way to win, but when you look at their team and on paper, and we'll, we'll
Yeah,
go in more detail,
yeah, we'll get to them. We'll
but
move. We'll
they've
move.
left season.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we'll move to the Bengals. So the good news is they re-signed Chase and Higgins. The bad news is they
yeah,
fired Lou Roma, who, to be honest with you, is a very good defensive. He had a bad year last year. Like I won't make no excuses for that, but he's a good. Hendrickson still hasn't signed. Who's there? Who
nope,
was
he's not
there?
turned up either, has he?
No, not and their first round draft pick still hasn't signed. Shamar Stewart. Unless I've missed something in the last week, he hadn't signed a deal.
No, no. I think the Bengals is one of them. Like last season, people were like touching and going whether they're going to make the playoffs, but that only comes down to one thing, and that's the Burrow Jamar Chase link.
Yeah.
The Burrow carried that team so much last year. He's walking away with over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns in games, and you're like, and they're coming away and losing, and you're thinking, how is this possible? But the defense is, yeah, it's not the best. They are just hemorrhaging points, and it's giving them a mountain to climb on the offensive side of the ball. And I think without Tyson Higgins, they wouldn't be doing anything. But then on the flip side, you've paid him some big money. Burrow's been paid big money. You haven't really got much to go around, which isn't going to help the defensive side of the ball. That's why they lost Jesse Bates the year before. They've obviously Henderson's not turning up. They lost DJ Reader. Like you go through that team and they're what they built on when they got to the Super Bowl. They've lost all of them players and not really replaced them.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't like the Bengals this year. They're just not. You know what? They might be another team a bit like the Dolphins, fun to watch because they can put up points, but that defense can it stop points? So I actually prefer Pittsburgh to them.
No,
I'd have them higher rated. 'Cause I think Pittsburgh off season.
yeah,
Mike Tomlin is what he is, and he's always going to get that winning record. Even when their teams look poor, they get the winning record. So
yeah, yeah,
A
definitely.
A Rod is I don't know. If it's the A Rod we've had the last 2 years, they're gonna struggle. But if you can get anything
Yeah,
close to Green Bay, even 70% of A Rod there, he's gonna win you. Well, he's gonna keep you competitive. They've brought in DK Metcalf, who I still think is
yeah,
an upgrade on Pickens.
yeah.
I
I
do like
think
Pickens, but I still think DK Metcalf's a better player.
yeah,
They've brought in Jonnu Smith, who was the tight end for Arthur Smith, the offensive coach at the Titans. He had a great season last year, so him and Big Pat Freiermuth, that's going to be a scary tight end set.
yeah. I think you're probably right there in the sense of getting what you can out of Rodgers. Has he hit that sort of decline where he's falling? If you go off last season, you'd probably say yeah, but is he in a system where good fundamentals, coached well? But the sounds of what you're hearing from the OTAs, he's happy with the offensive coordinator and the playbook and how it looks. Obviously, they brought in Metcalf, which I think, for me, I think the question mark's out whether he's an upgrade to I think he can be, but have we seen enough of him to be able to say, is he in that top tier of wide receivers to be paid the money that he's been paid? Obviously, this off season, they've lost Najee Harris. He was a bit of a workhorse for him. I know they brought in a rookie running
Yeah,
back, but
Caleb Johnson is very similar mold, to be honest. I seen a
yeah,
bit of him. It's just a cheap replacement, really.
yeah,
No, they don't always work because you got AJ Brown when he left the Titans. They brought in Traylon Burks and he's no longer on the squad.
no, 100%. Like, but is he going to turn out to pump the same numbers? Hopefully, and then that'll help Rodgers out massively in the run game. But I think defensively, they've just got the coach very well, and they've got obviously TJ Watt, who's up there, one of the best defensive players. Again, got paid in the off season, so he'll be wanting to prove a point.
They
Brought in
brought in
Jalen
Ramsey.
Ramsey.
They brought in Slay as well.
Yeah,
Darius Slay. They brought in Harmon, defensive tackle. He's really good. Sayer's a good linebacker.
yeah.
And I tell you what's an intriguing one. If A-Rod doesn't, they brought in Will Howard. So he
Mm,
was a quarterback who I didn't like, and he's really highly thought of, though. I just didn't like him. I watched his tape. I didn't think he was good enough. And then I watched John Gruden. He did a QB class, before.
yeah.
And he was so intelligent. When someone sells you that dream. Now, if he can do it in the NFL, I don't know. But he's got the work ethic, the brain, and the arm.
And you think even if you get out of Rodgers 70% and he's sitting there learning from him and picking up things as he slot into that offense and sort of roll with it come next year, is that why they brought Rodgers in and not kept Russell Wilson or someone because they want someone to learn, they want Will Howard to learn off him and develop, so are they playing a long sort of game with it? But again, it's Pittsburgh are one of them. They are always in and around it, but they don't like the season up. Last year, they kind of flew under the radar, really. I thought they were picking up victories here, there, and sort of everywhere, but they never really set the world alight. No one sitting there talking about the Steelers being in the top 5 in the AFC. You wouldn't have put them there, but they are coached well. They know the fundamentals. They know the places. I think Alex Highsmith's a very underrated pass rusher as well. Kind of gets a bit overshadowed with the excellence of TJ Watt. But them two coming off the edge, Cam Hayward through the middle, Rodgers just got to go out there and perform and get some points on the board, and I think they'll be in and around it.
Yeah. You know what Pittsburgh are for me? They're a hard night's work. You never want to play a team like it. But when they have to play someone who's got a bit of talent, they're just
Yeah.
not good enough to beat them.
No, I think that they're one of them, always the underdog, aren't they? They're one of them where they'll turn up and beat the Chiefs, but then they'll end up losing to the Broncos or they'll end up losing to the Jets because they're expected to go out and do something. Whereas when the back's up against the wall, I'm guessing it's a Pittsburgh mentality of that's where the dog comes out, that's where the fight comes.
Yeah.
And I always thought they played better or had better performances where you expected them not to come away with something and let themselves down where opportunities where the offense is going to be out there more to try and win points and get out there. And I think that's where they struggled. So
And
it
I
may
feel
be a
like
similar thing this year.
Pittsburgh's like, one of them grounds you go and play at and like the crowd's on your back and like, I
Yeah.
don't feel like it's a nice place to play, to be honest.
Nah, I think, I think it's one of them old school NFL grounds where when you go there, you don't want to play against them. And like you say, cold night in December, you definitely don't want to go up there.
Yeah.
And that's where they thrive, that's where they love it. So it's
Yeah. It's like Pittsburgh for me. They'll probably make the wild card, but I don't see them challenging. I just think they'll have a winning record. But I do prefer them to the Bengals. I must admit, if I was doing the odds, I would have had them above the Bengals.
yeah, I think like I say, over the years you've seen it. You've seen it in the Super Bowl this year. Defense wins your games. It puts you in positions to be successful, and I think that's the difference. The Bengals offensively have got absolute studs, but
Yeah.
when you're chasing the game, like every game, every week, you're not going to be successful. And I think the Steelers are the opposite of that. I think they've got the foundation of a great defense, and all they're waiting for is Rodgers to put them in position to put points on the board, and that's all he needs to do. Which is probably a better environment for him. Whereas in the Jets, they was expecting him to do everything. Whereas he's at a point in his career where he's just needs to do the fundamentals, just needs to get the people the ball in the right positions.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll move to Browns, a big 30-1. Does that tempt you a little 30-1 flutter on that?
Nah. Well, unless they're playing about 10 quarterbacks that they've got. I
So
don't know.
we'll start with the quarterbacks. They got Joe Flacco. He's an experienced backup at best.
Yeah,
Kenny Pickett is a failed first rounder for me.
yeah, and he'll be a backup for the rest of his career. I think he'll bounce around from team to team. He's all what is he 25 and been on 3 teams already?
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel. He was someone I watched a bit of last season, and he didn't look anything special to me.
No, I think I've seen a couple of plays from the Oregon highlights, and he never really lit up the college scene. I think
Nah,
they yeah, he wasn't
he
the
was
best for
another
me.
one. He was rumored with the Raiders, and I didn't want him.
No.
And then I guess you got the wild card in Shador Sanders.
Yeah, I think again did the noise around him and his dad, and obviously people before the draft were picking him to be one of the top 3 quarterbacks to go. People were comparing him and Cam Ward and everything like that, and to fall the way he did, either teams have seen something or teams have seen his relationship with his dad, the media, what surrounds him, and gone, we don't want to touch that. So as his popularity in college affected him in the NFL, or has teams seen something, which I think is an interesting one, which from the highlights of what I've seen in the preseason, he looks like he's very mobile, can see downfield and play. But again, I think preseason is quite hard to judge
Yeah.
the
So
quarterbacks.
my take on Sanders. So I follow Texas Tech in college football, and
Yeah,
they're in the Big 12, same as Colorado.
yeah,
Now, when I watched him, I didn't see a world class quarterback, but I seen a dependable quarterback. You know, someone in the Kirk Cousins. You know,
yeah,
like I'm not saying their styles the same, but a quarterback who would he could win your games, but he's not going to lose them. Yeah, you know, like he's just an average NFL quarterback.
yeah,
And Raiders was obviously we was looking at well apparently looking at him, and I thought in the top 10 picks, no way he would have taken Sanders. But at early second round, I would have been happy with that. I would have thought that was quite good value. So personally, obviously, I'm not a quarterback guru. Like when I first got into NFL, I was a massive Josh Rosen fan. I don't know if you remembered him, but
yeah.
so that was my quarterback tip in the first year of NFL. So my quarterback success hasn't been the best, so don't take my word for it. But watching Sanders, I did have a day of round 2 pick on him, and I would have been very happy. I just don't think he's ever going to be an elite NFL quarterback, but he's a quarterback who can keep it competitive. And I think they probably start with Flacco, and I think Sanders comes in at some point. Um,
Yeah,
they did draft Wilder because Mason Graham, I like him, defensive tackle.
yeah. He was up there for me. I think he's definitely the best defensive player that went off the board. He looks quick. He looks physical. I think he'll be a real good asset in their defensive line.
Yeah, they drafted Carson Schwarzenegger. He's a really good linebacker. I wanted him in round 2, but he didn't make it. And then they drafted 2 running backs in Judkins and Sampson. And I actually watched quite a lot of Tennessee games last year, and Sampson was really high on my list. So I actually think they could have found, like when they had Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
So the one thing I would feel happy for Browns, they've got that sorted, the running side of the things. They're pretty good defensively, and their lines are not bad, are they? You know, they're pretty good.
no, I think their offensive line's aging. I think like you look at Jack, is it Coughlin, and people like that, and is it Joe Bedinto? They're getting they've been very good, but they're coming to that sort of veteran years. They haven't
Yeah.
really replaced them. I think Njoku, obviously, very good tight end in there. And defensively, obviously, they've kept Miles Garrett, which is a big thing. Obviously, money talks when you're talking about wanting to go and win a Super Bowl. And next thing you
Yeah,
know, the highest paid defensive player ever. So,
yeah, that will help Mason Graham. No, that will. You'll
yeah,
see more
definitely.
from that. So
They've kept Denzel Ward round as well. So that's a massive bonus for them. But I think they're just one of them, the Browns, which they've always had these talents. They've always had uh, good players, but they've never really sorted the coaching out. They've never really sorted out their style of play, and they've just they've just never. They're kind of like the Jets. They've always had the talent, but they've just never put it out there. They've never put it on the field, and I think that's that's what I see with the Browns again. Like 30s is quite outside, but in that division, I think yeah, I think it's hard to say they'll come out of that division, and I think they'll struggle for the wild card.
and just remember, like as well, that deal for Deshaun Watson was probably the worst deal in NFL history. They've got so
Oh
much cap and draft space lost because of that. It's just,
yeah,
you know,
obviously as a Texans fan, obviously he was gutting at the time, but in hindsight and how it's all played out, it seems a bit of a first time ever in Texans history we've done a bit of good business. So
it's like it's one of them. Like when he was at the Texans, I loved him. He was a top five quarterback for me.
yeah,
When he left, like I don't know if he had too many happy endings and got no steam left, but he's a different player. Like he just doesn't look the same.
no, I think yeah, I agree. I think he's when he was I was gutted to see him go. He was amazing. Was like come in and carried the Texans like to some getting to the postseason and things like that. But when he went to the Browns, I thought, oh, here we go. That's what they were missing. They were always missing that quarterback to get them over the hump. And he's just gone massively downhill. Obviously, all the money they've paid him, everything like that, and he's stunted them massively. He just hasn't hit the height.
Yeah, I must admit, looking at the Browns, you know what? Without the quarterbacks going, I think they'll be in it for a bottom five pick.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't, th-
hard.
I don't think they can win enough games.
It's hard because I think them rumours around Miles Garrett, I don't think gonna go. And I think if they do end up with a top five pick in next year's draft, are they going to start circulating again? Because you can get paid all the money in the world, but if you're not happy,
Mm.
it's should they have? My question is, should they have drafted it, traded him? And I know it's hard, but got back a lot more assets and a lot more capital to build the future of that team than relying on Miles Garrett. If we're sitting here saying we still think they're going to be a top five pick in next year's draft,
Yeah, you know what? I would have done the same because you know what? Unfortunately, NFL age catches you up, but they're just one injury away from being never the same.
yeah, 100%. And I think that team got coached well enough to lose a Miles Garrett and sort of be able to not say you move forward, you can't, but steady the ship. I think for me, if I was the Browns, I know you want to keep them assets, but then you look and say, could we have got a couple of first round picks? Could got multiple picks in the draft, gone out there and brought in more talent to help these young quarterbacks that they've brought in, offensive line, defensive line, and really made a better squad off the back of Miles Garrett. Then, like I say, he's one player really going to change it for him, and I don't think he will.
I would have done that personally. I would have got rid, but
Yeah, and I think I would have. I think I'm in that mindset. As soon as someone says I don't want to be there, I'm not sound. Get rid of them. Get them out of the building. Get them away from the team. Um, shift them.
yeah. So looking back at that, are you locking in for the accumulator?
Got to be the Ravens. I think it's the only team we've had a positive thing to say about.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Now you're gonna like this one. We're moving to the south.
Oh, here we go.
So the odds are Texans are 2.02, which are
Yeah,
actually quite, I think that's good odds to be honest. The Jags are 4, Colts are 460, and the Titans are 860. We will start with the Texans. So for me, defensively, I think you're one of the best defenses in the AFC, possibly the NFL in all.
yeah. I
Like
think.
in the
Yeah, I agree.
playoffs, they were so good. I watched them and I was in awe of them. Now, last season, we all know your biggest problems was the offensive line.
Yeah,
Do you think you've done enough?
I don't think we have. I think Laramie Tunsil he's probably up there in top five left tackles in the league. Obviously, we've we've traded him and moved him on. I think we haven't really strengthened that, which was a big concern of mine going into the off season. Obviously, I know losing Diggs, he was injured, but yeah, I think the offensive side of the ball that concern me. I think the defensive side, I think DeMarco Rangers got him playing amazing. Stingley's up there, top
Yeah,
corners.
he's brilliant.
I think the two, Will Anderson and Hunter on the edge, again, two of the best pass rushers in the league. And really stepped up, especially Will Anderson in that second season. I thought he was really underrated how he played.
He's unreal.
Um, but I think, yeah, the offensive line, I think we need, if we can protect Shroud and we can give him a platform to play on with Mixon in the backfield and you've got Nico Collins out on the edge, I think we've drafted quite well. But yeah, the offensive line is still my biggest sort of concern.
So yeah, the one thing I must admit, Cam Robinson was a good free agency signing.
Yeah,
I don't mind Kirk either. I don't think Kirk's unreal, but he will come in and steady the ship. And then obviously in the draft, you got Higgins and Jalen Noel. I watched both of them a fair bit because Jalen Noel was on my radar, and I think to support Collins, it's going to help. It will help Stroud. I think you've got two very good players there, and then
yeah,
you got Ursi on the offensive line. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't watch enough of him. The stats say he's very good. The reviews I've heard from people say he's good. So, but yeah, I think looking at your team, defensively, that's going to win you games. You've got Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. He might do a job as well.
yeah. He's not. He's like I say, it's good to have them dual threats, so you can't put all the load on Mixon.
So I
So
think,
having a Chubb, yeah, I think
yeah, that's good.
he's good.
Nico Collins is a stud. I love Nico. Christian Kirk, I think he's going to be a dependable player. Jalen Noel, I think you ask a lot of my friends, they love Jalen Noel. He was really, I thought, and Jaden Higgins was. Dalton Schultz is what he is. He's a very good tight end. He's not world beater, but he can do a job. So yeah, I'm looking at your O line now, and it's Cam Robinson left tackle. Who, to be honest, I do like him. You got Laken Tomlinson left guard, Patterson centre, Howard right guard, and they're going to be playing Ursay right tackle apparently.
Yeah, so like I say, you got
And you
them
got
the
Blake
three.
Fisher as well, haven't you?
Yeah, the three in the middle. I think Patterson at centre is. I think interior lineman really put him under a lot of pressure. You think he struggled sometimes. I think, yeah, the two guards not the best. I think Cam Robinson's not bad, but he's not Larry Tunsil. And I think he's been a very good left tackle. And what after the quarterback, I think left tackle is probably the most important, especially on the offensive side of the ball, player to bring in. So Cam Robinson is just a bridge player, but yeah, I think the offensive line is the only thing that worries me. I think everywhere else, I think we have strengthened really well. Like I say, we brought in some really good wide receivers. Christian Kirk, yeah, he's going to be good in the wide receiver room. Probably play a little bit more in the slot. Dalton Schultz, he's a middle of the road tight end. Not going to set the world alight, but he'll come away with some receptions. And I think the defense is going to put us in some real good positions. So I'm hoping that Shroud has a bit more of an up year. I think
Yeah.
he kind of plateaued a little bit last year, but I think there was trouble on the offensive line. Obviously, went down with a few receivers. So I'm hoping that this year he starts to pick back up because yeah, he's a real talent, and I think we just need to give him the weapons to be successful.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the second favourite. Is the Jags at 4. Now, I actually don't like what the Jags have done this off-season. I didn't really
Mm,
like the Cohen hire. Now, he did all
no,
right at Tampa, but he's only 1 year OC. I Now this is controversial because everyone tells me different, but I weren't that high on Travis Hunter either.
I think Travis Hunter's one of them. I think at college, he obviously, I think the big hype was the fact he played both sides and he'd won the Heisman and things like that. But for me, I think the NFL's a different beast. It's a different level. Like how many of these college teams did the Colorado play that half of them are never going to make the NFL? You're playing against top athletes. Can you sustain that for defensive and offensive side of the ball? Can he play all these snaps? And I'm interested to see how that happens. I still think he's a very good player, but I also
Yeah.
I'm in between of whether I think he's a lockdown corner or whether he's a wide receiver. I still think he's a better corner than wide receiver. Um, but I just think he's going to struggle to play both sides of the ball. I really do.
Did you know Derek Stringley in high school used to do that, and he was elite?
Yeah, but then again, he's one of them that you have to. For me, I think you have to find a position and hone in on it. You have to be good at it.
Yeah, I don't
I
think he
think
can do it in the NFL.
I don't think he can, and I think he'll get found out. Is he because he's coming against every single person in the NFL? He's there for a reason, and you're coming up against some top wide receivers, top corners that you've got to be at the top of your game, playing both sides.
Yeah,
Not only that, but in preparation in the week, he's how many people get playbooks and go through it. You see it on all the shows that we watch. Like you've got to be prepared. Now he's got two sets of that to do.
yeah,
He's got two sets of preparation to do. He's coming up against Justin Jefferson, but then you've got to prepare to come up against the. It's hard to. I think it's hard to do both on and off the field. And I
I
think
agree.
he needs to find that position and go. I'm going to be a corner. I'm going to be a wide receiver, and I think he'll be very good at either. But I think he's going to compromise himself by doing both.
Yeah, and also I always say, look, I watch the Big 12 a lot because I follow Texas Tech. Big 12 is nowhere near the talent of the SEC.
Oh
You know,
no,
you're not playing Georgia. Like you play Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, you're getting pro ready.
yeah,
You play like BYU, Arizona. It's a lot different competition now. I think if it was me and Jags, I'll play him as cornerback, and you could maybe throw a few packages, like where you can bring him in for wide receiver. But
yeah.
I think that's as far as you can really go with it.
I was saying to someone before, like my mum pals, I said maybe it's all smoke and mirrors. Maybe he's going to be a corner. Maybe they're doing this. The teams are prepping for him to be. Oh, we've got to prepare for Travis Hunter, and he doesn't turn up. It throws teams off. Are they planning that? But I don't think the Jags are. I don't think they've got it in them to do that. I don't think they're. I think they will play him on both sides, and I think in that team as well. I don't think he's gone into the best scenario and best environment to even thrive in doing that. Um, Trevor Lawrence, I think, struggled. He's never ever hit the heights that the money that he's got has
He
warranted.
was meant to be generational, and
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I've seen bits in him to say he could have an NFL starting career, but I haven't seen enough of him to be a quarterback who wins your games.
no,
Carries on the ball.
compared to the money that he's got, like I think that's a big thing that you have to look at. Like you took a big chunky salary cap to give to to this generational quarterback that's going to take you over the hump, take you to the playoffs, take you to the Super Bowl and win something. That's why you're paying this money, and he hasn't lived up to that. And now you can't go out and get these free agents to put around him because he's getting paid so much, and it's
Yeah,
hard to get off these contracts. The Browns are feeling it with Deshaun Watson, like the paying these like the Cowboys are fighting with that Prescott. Like you're paying all these top quarterbacks this big money, but they're not producing, they're not putting out the numbers that it's warranting.
yeah. And I think when I look at the Jags overall, they've got some good players and they've got some bad players. They're a very hit and miss team. You look at Josh Allen on defense, really good.
Yeah,
Trayvon Walker, decent. Was he a number one pick? No, they regret that for Aiden Hutchinson, but he's still all right. Brian Thomas Jr., I thought he was elite last year. I think he was
yeah,
a stud.
he was there. He was there only shining light. I think last season when you look at that, I think yeah, Josh Allen he produces, but it doesn't set the world alight. But I think Brian Thomas was like a stud, especially like what everything we just said about Trevor Lawrence. He still stood out, and I think he was amazing. But yeah, I think for me, the one thing that shocks me, I probably would have put the Colts above the Jags.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest with you, I think they're actually on par with the Titans, the Jags.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with that. I think it's hard. I would have thought the Colts would have been higher than the Jags, and that's me. I think the Colts' team is a lot more better all round than what the Jags are, and I think they played better football last year.
Yeah, so we'll go to the Colts there, 460 to 1. Now, I actually like the Colts team.
Yeah,
You look at the weapons, Pittman, Downs, Pierce. They brought in Tyler Warren, who's a stud tight end.
yeah,
The
he looks
running
very
back,
good.
Jonathan Taylor proved he still got it last year.
Yeah,
So that I think the odds have probably been took on the quarterback. You know,
yeah, but
you look at Richardson, he hasn't done what we hoped, and
no,
Daniel Jones is dog shit.
but I think see, I was saying about Richardson. I think he was never when you watched him at Florida, he was never a big pocket passer. Was never really like everyone looked at him and thought he's got glimpses, he's got the weapons, but he needs to be developed. The
Yeah,
problem is at the Colts, they haven't developed him. They haven't had a coach that's been there for more than 1 year. They haven't, like up until now, they haven't really given him the support that he needs to develop him into being what I think they compared him to a Cam Newton. They thought that that's what he was going to be, that generational, dual threat, big bodied, like physical quarterback, and he just hasn't been that. But I also think for Daniel Jones, I think this is probably the best thing for him. I don't think he's a brilliant quarterback, but I also think if you put him in the right environment, he could be functional for him. And I think like you say, the weapons that they have got, he's probably more weapons than he's ever had at the Giants. So I'm interested to see what they do with them two, because if you was telling me who I wanted to pick, I'd probably pick Daniel Jones to start week one.
I believe as well from reports it is Daniel Jones who they'll go with. But
Yeah,
I
I
do
think
think Richardson will could actually become a really good quarterback. I just maybe he's in the wrong situation. You know, he went to the wrong team, and
yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think he's gone to the wrong team where they put too much on him too early, thinking he's going to be this player that's going to transform them and carry them where they need to go to. But I watched him a lot in college and watching the SEC, and he never was amazing there. He never really set the world alight. He was always that quarterback where you went, wow, he's got the attributes to be amazing, but he hasn't shown it. And I think that's sort of transpired into the NFL. He hasn't really hit them heights, but I don't think he's had the support that he needs to hit them.
yeah, I agree. But you know what? The weapons, the O line's more than good enough. I'm not saying it's
Yeah,
elite, but it's a good O line.
yeah,
They've
but they've
got
got
the
the
weapons. The
best
defense
guard in
has
the
got
league.
some studs in there. They've got Quitty Pay. They've got Buckner, Latu, Camboyam. You know,
Yeah,
they've got enough on that defense to make it good enough.
yeah,
So yeah, I'd agree. I have them above the Jags. We'll move to the Titans. Obviously, the big news: Cam Ward. Did you see much of him in college, or?
yeah. I watched a bit of him in college again. He's one of them. I think he had all the attributes to do that. I don't think sort of fundamentally as a quarterback you'd look at him and go wow. But again, he showed glimpses. Now is it a kind of I'm hoping the situation's a little bit different and they nurture him and let him develop. But it's the Titans. I haven't really seen an amazing quarterback they've ever had, and really
Well,
like
I grew
you.
up with them. Well, I say I grew up when I got into NFL. It's always been Tannehill, and
Yeah, exactly.
Mariota was there actually the year I started.
Yeah, but again, Mariota never, from what he
Yeah,
did at college, never really
no,
sort of went into the NFL. I think they relied a lot on Derrick Henry to carry that team. I think, but then you look at him and say Jeffrey Simmons on the defensive side, he's one of the best interior linemen in the
unreal.
game. Snead had obviously a lot of injuries, but he's back. I think Cam Ward looked good in the preseason. What I've seen, it looked like him and Ridley are starting to get a real good connection. I think having that veteran wide receiver that can help him out in times where he needs him to go and make a play. I think Ridley can do that. Uh, so I'm interested to see what he does.
Yeah, because they invested heavily the last few drafts in the O line, haven't they? They had
Yeah,
Skoronsky, they
yeah,
drafted Latham. You know, they've got Cushbury centre is very good. So I think they've got enough in the O line, and obviously, who's the head coach there? Oh, his name slipped me. But his dad is the O line coach, and he was a legendary O line coach.
yeah. I think he's obviously I don't want him to do too well being a Texans fan, but I think the big question mark will be Cam Ward and what he can produce, what he can do, bring into his first year. He's obviously going to start week one. They don't really have anyone else. Um, but obviously, after what happened with Will Levis, I don't think it can get any worse.
No, Will Levis
So
is trash, and I said it on
yeah,
this pod, right? he did not make my top five quarterbacks for the when it was in the rookie draft.
Yeah,
Everybody else said it. I said he's a bum. I said he's a Josh Allen with no talent. He's got the physique. He works hard. He's powerful, but he can't throw.
no.
But yeah, when I look at their team, running backs Pollard, Spears, I like that as a tag team.
I think Spears will take the head role this year as well. I think Spears will
Yeah,
step up. I think he did a lot. His production was a lot better than what Pollard's was last year, and I think he'll continue that into this year as well.
yeah, they got wide receivers Calvin Ridley, who I like. Tyler Lockett's a bit of a weird one for me. But I guess he's got the experience. Van Jefferson. They drafted. I can't really say his name. Ayamana, but he was really good. He absolutely destroyed Hunter as well in a college game. He was at Stanford and he destroyed Hunter. And Chimere Daiku was very quick and he did well at the combine. So on the weapon side, they've got some young, interesting I'll be honest with you, they won't beat the Texans. They're not as good as the
No,
Texans. I don't think they're as good as the Colts either, but as an accumulator, I would lock in the Texans and I'd be quite confident.
yeah, I think the Texans, even with the question marks on the O line, I think in that division, I'd be very surprised if they don't come out as division champs.
Do you reckon the South's the worst division in the AFC?
I reckon so.
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, like I say, it's never really hit the heights, has it? There's always been a few teams in there that haven't really been the best, and I think similar now. I think if you was ranking every team in the AFC, I think the three teams in sort of the Colts, Jags, and the Titans would probably be down the bottom, if not in the bottom five teams.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So we'll move to my favourite, the AFC West. As obvious, the bookies have gone with the Chiefs at 1.87,
Yeah,
the Broncos at 4, Chargers now have moved to 4.40. I'm guessing it's since the Slater news.
yeah. So that's going to be that's massive for them. That is.
And my Raiders are 17 to 1.
So I think 17's quite good. Like I think my yeah, I think we'll maybe start with the Raiders. And my question
Okay.
to you is, how do you how did you think this off season went?
So I can break it down really simply. Pete Carroll, massive upgrade on Antonio Pierce. Like that's a massive. Pete Carroll's one of the great NFL coaches. Doesn't matter about age, he's got the knowledge. Chip Kelly, one of the best defensive coordinators in college football and NFL. Massive upgrade on Luke Getzey. How Luke Getzey's got a job is beyond. I'm a better offensive coordinator than him. So then you move to quarterback, Gino. Massive upgrade on Minshew. Or
Yeah,
kind of whatever way, they were both shit. Go to running back, Genti and Mostert. Upgrade on Zamir White and Madison. You go to the wide receivers now. Bowers, he was a stud last year. He's only going to
yeah,
get better. I think
100%.
probably the best tight end now, I think, in NFL. He's got.
Oh, I think that.
Well,
I
you think
think
Kelsey's sliding?
yeah.
Well, I
Actually,
mean, probably
I like
receiving.
trying. I like trying McBride.
Yeah, yeah, I get the argument for that as well. But so, whatever you look, he's a top three
Oh,
receiving tight end.
100%. I think yeah. I think give it if he carries on the way he did last year, give it a year or two, and yeah, it's a no brainer.
So you go in with a top end tight end. Jacoby Myers, for me, is one of the most underrated wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying he's an elite wide receiver one, but you could say he's an elite wide receiver two.
Yeah, I think he'd be good if you could partner him up with a wide receiver one. I think he'd be a great asset sort of
But
out there at the two. But
but
I
you
think
look at
he,
it, Brock Bowers is our wide receiver one, isn't he?
wow, yeah, that
That
is true.
he's not an all round tight end.
No,
And then we brought in Jack Betch. I
yeah,
don't know if you know his story. He's the one whose brother died in the New Orleans, and then
no,
he
I
was
don't
a
know.
so yeah, his brother died when there was that drive-through attack in New Orleans, on New Year.
Yeah,
And then he went on. He was at TCU, and he went on and he got like all the records for. I think he was one of the best wide receiver stats in the whole of the college year. And then when they have done what's the college game? Like their All Star game.
Yeah,
He got like the player of that. So he's got like this story he's doing for his brother, and the comparison is Cooper Cup on him.
yeah. I've seen him a few highlights of him in training camp and stuff, and the routes that he runs,
Hmm.
he's very shifty, gets round. So that slot for Gino, like you've seen it over the years when he was at Seattle, like that slot receiver is a massive position for them. And the Chip Kelly offense as well. He's that motions as well. So I think if he lives up to the hype, I think he'll be a very good slot wide receiver in there with Brock Bowers. I think
Yeah.
gives you a few threats.
So when you look at Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and if Jack Betch turns anything close to Cooper Cup,
Yeah,
that's three very good. Because last season you have to think when Devontae went, we literally just had Bowers and Myers.
yeah,
you know. And then we also drafted Thornton, who he ran like the 14-4-3-1, I think. He's about 6'4", and he's just that deep threat,
yeah,
something we never had last year. And we still
yeah,
got Trey Tucker, but he's more like your Curtis Samuel, gadget type player. But he's
yeah,
still a weapon to bring in. So our wide receivers, running backs, coach, quarterback coaching is all up on the offensive side. Now, the thing what worries me is still got Pat Graham as defensive coach, which he's done a decent job. He's not the best, he's not the worst. The defense they've made, but we lost Spillane, Hobbs, and Morig. So we've replaced them, and the way people look at it, we got players in on a better value deal because they
yeah,
all got paid. But even though they're better value deals, they're not better players. So that does mean your defense still weakens.
yeah. But I think they've probably had to free the cap space up to
Yeah,
pay Max, haven't they?
yeah. So where I think we've got better on offense, I don't think the defense is good enough. Last year our O line was average. You
Yeah,
know, but they were young. Our right tackle Glaze was drafted last year. He did an all right job. He looks like he'll be an NFL starter. We got Jackson Power Johnson as a center. He's going into his second year, so should be better. Colton Miller, left tackle. He's one of the better left tackles in the games. Got Parham as guard, he's average. He's good enough. He can do a job.
yeah. He's functional. He's functional in the NFL. Look,
Yeah.
I, th- I
So,
think I
so we've
think
got on the
from
right side, we've got another couple of guards who we've drafted and an experience. Just how they do. I don't think the O line's going to be well beaten, but I think it can do enough.
Yeah, I think for me, I think you are probably up there with one of the teams that's done the most. I think Pete Carroll's going to bring in that culture, which I think the Raiders have probably lost over the years with the Josh McDaniels and people like you haven't got that. You haven't brought in that right coaching to fit
Yeah.
that the Raiders and sort of the history behind the club, the franchise. Sorry, and I think Gentry's going to be an interesting one. Of can he obviously replicate what he did at college and um, people said that if BYU played in more primetime games, he probably would have been the Heisman Trophy winner
Yeah.
with his highlight reel. So I think I think it's interesting to see what he can do. I think Geno Smith's a massive, massive upgrade. I think he's probably the best quarterback you've had for a long time. Like, I'd even say he's better than Derek Carr.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree, Carl.
so I think you've really done well this year. It's just whether it's going to take a year to put it all together. Can Pete Carroll come in and hit the ground running with it with a quarterback that he knows well, with obviously coaches he knows well? But yeah, it's unfortunately it's the Raiders, and
Yeah.
you find a way to mess it up somehow. So
Yeah, so my thing is, I think we've done everything right, and I think we're gonna have a season of hope. Not even like meaning we're gonna win many games, but then games we lose. I think
yeah,
we're gonna be super competitive and see what what can happen with a few more changes and another year of coaching.
yeah,
And another thing which is gonna make it extremely difficult, I think the AFC West is the best league now in the AFC.
yeah. I definitely think that. I think now it seems like you've hit that time where you've started to peak. And I think if this was 2, 3 years ago, you'd be saying, not saying you beat the Chiefs, but you'd be in and around it. But unfortunately for you, it's come at a time where both the Chargers and the Broncos have also got considerably better as well.
And you look at the coaches, like that's got the best coach league in the
Oh yeah,
NFL.
100%. I think when you look at it, especially with Gino coming over now, quarterbacks, coaches. I think it's probably the most up there, especially in the AFC, the most competitive league. Um, so I am interested to see how it plays out for the Raiders because I think you'll have a far better season than what you had last year. But hopefully Pete Carroll can work his magic.
I hope so. There's no one hoping, and I'm luckily doing a podcast for years. You learn you can't be biased on your team because you get pouters in the comments, and so I'm realistic. I think the season will be better than what we've had the last few seasons.
Yeah.
That's as far as I can probably go with it. Who should we move on to next? We'll go with the Chargers as they're the 4.4, so they're now the third favourite. And it's weird because I'm half tempted to put them in my accumulator.
Yeah, I think, like I say, we spoke about it before, and I think up until the Slater injury, I think we were saying like they've got one of the best O lines. Justin Herbert. I think this year he's got to do something like he's got the talent. You can see it's there, but he's not hit the heights that everyone thought it would do. Um, Obviously, they brought back people like Keenan Allen, which is obviously a good veteran to bring in there from McConkey, and he's going to be a very good player. They brought in Najee Harris in the backfield. Like,
And
I think
Amari
Joel's
Hampton
probably,
as well. Them
yeah,
two.
and Hampton's meant to be like unbelievable, an absolute workhorse. So I think, and then the defensive side, obviously, again, they've improved on that. I think their corners are underrated. I think the Chargers are one of them, whereas I thought they are really under the radar, and I think even the odds show that no one's really backing them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think because you look at Jim, their head coach at Michigan, he ran the rock. That's what they did. Like, JJ McCarthy didn't even have to hardly throw in the winning year.
No, no,
And I think in Harrison Hampton, you've got that running back line. And the O
yeah,
line's well, the O line was elite. Now, the one thing I say they're saving grace is they drafted Joey Alt the year before, so you can move him to left tackle.
yeah,
But it's what they do. The rest of the line's good. Right tackle, they're saying Trey Pipkins. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about him to know. But I think
no,
with
no,
coaching, they'll probably get him serviceable.
yeah. I think it's the first thing you do is Alt's got to move to left tackle. Like we said before, you've got to put him in there. You've got to protect Herbert in there. I think obviously losing Palmer to the Bills is obviously a big loss for them. But hopefully, with like you say, with the running game, it will free up then the play action, which I think's a hardball special in how they played. He did it with San Francisco when they had Kaepernick and people like that. He likes to run that the motion and sort of disguise it. So I think they'll come up with something. But it still doesn't take away that Slater's probably, I think, probably arguably top three left tackles
Yeah.
in the league. It's hard to replace that, and that's obviously showing in the odds the fact that they've dropped quite a lot, really.
Yeah. So yeah, I look at their wide receivers. Lad McConkey, he's an exciting white, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's like I think he's fantastic. Quentin Johnston has, unfortunately because he got drafted first round, he's never lived up to that hype. But he didn't have a terrible season last year.
no,
He's just weren't a round one talent. That's
yeah,
it. Keenan Allen, I really like. I think that was good business. They
yeah,
also drafted
100%.
Trey Harris, who he's another one. He did well in college, so it brings them. I'm really shocked though. They never, because Jim loves a good tight end as well, doesn't he? And their
Yeah,
tight ends going into it, you got Will Disley, Tyler Conklin. They don't excite you, do they?
no, I think it's hard. It's hard as well for him. Like, you want to bring in that tight end, but then you probably look and say, obviously the Colts took probably the best tight end in the
Yeah.
draft, and you sit there and say, do you try and bring in someone, or do you just go with functional tight ends? Will Disley and Conklin, they're not the best, but are they going to support in the run game, which is what ultimately I think they'll really hit hone us on this year, is that which I think makes the Slater injury even more impactful for him, is the fact that he's down. I think it really affects how they probably anticipate going into the season.
Yeah. But you know what? I do really like the Chargers this year.
Yeah, I
And
do. Yeah,
yeah, so at 4.48, I quite like it, to be honest.
I think the more we talk about the team, the more it does excite me how the what they've got and the talent that they've got. And like I say, Jim Harbaugh's a very good coach. Um, he's had that year last year to put in his fundamentals. I think you look at their linebackers in Colson and Henley as well. That will lead it. I think that the defense is stacked as well. So yeah, I think it's hard to kind of look past the talent that they have, but it is tough in that division. I think you could go quite a few ways.
Yeah, so we'll move to the Broncos. They're 4-1. Now, they're off season. They was the best defense last year, weren't they?
Yeah, and they've added to it. The like side of
They
it,
drafted Barron like he's a stud.
yeah,
They've brought in Evan Engram as tight end, which I thought was a pretty good move.
massive upgrade from what they've had.
Um, what was your thoughts on Bo Nix last year?
I think he took. I think any player in a Sean Payton offense is going to take a bit of time. Like Drew Brees didn't hit the ground running when they come together. Like it took a bit of time. But I think the back end of last season, if you looked at all the rookie quarterbacks, he was probably up there in performance. I think
Yeah, I
he
think he was.
really he really stepped into it. I think their offensive lines probably up there in one of the best.
Yeah.
I think the run game, you know, Cortland Sutton, like he really stood out in the back end of the season
He
as a
finally
wide
broke
receiver
out
one.
in fantasy for me last year. Every year I have him, and he never. And last year he was actually good.
Yeah, I think he's one of them that I think a lot of fantasies this year. I think people will be looking at him, not say wide receiver one, but be a very good wide receiver two. A lot of
Yeah,
fantasy teams, and I think he'll come out with some performances. But I think their defense last year was good, and I think they've added to it.
yeah. But I'm telling you,
Which is
Barron's going to be so fun in that defense.
yeah, I think they've brought in Drake Greenlaw as well from the 49ers, and as in Tua Funga from 49ers there as well.
I'm not too sure, to be honest, mate. I haven't.
I think they brought in I know Greenlaw's gone there, which is again massive. I know he had the injury, but a massive improvement
Yeah.
in their secondary, in the linebacker position. So I think for me, again, it's this division's so tough. Like 4-1, I think it's kind of yeah, it's
It's
kind of
nice odds, isn't it?
perking my ears up a little bit to be honest. At fours,
So you want to hear my negative on them?
go on.
Running backs, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah,
We've got more ACLs in one leg than he's got in his body.
yeah, but then also he did come out with some big performances in the Chargers last year.
You got RJ Harvey they drafted.
Yeah,
I wasn't that high on him personally, but he might do a job. They got McLaughlin who was there last year. He was all right. And Estimate, who was all right. So you look at that running back room, I would say it's probably the worst in the division.
yeah. I think
Or
when you
actually, we'll get to the Chiefs, but if you look at the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos, you'd pick Chargers and Raiders over theirs.
oh yeah, 100%,
Wide
100%, yeah,
receiver room, Cortland Sutton, good.
yeah,
Given that. Marvin Mims, a bit of a gadget player.
yeah,
They got Vele and Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, who they draft. Do they get in
yeah.
any other team's wide receiver calls apart from Sutton?
No,
Bo Nix, do you prefer him to Geno and Herbert? I don't know. They're all pretty on the same par to me, to be honest.
yeah. I think I'd probably put Herbert above the two of them, but Gino off last season, you wouldn't really have rated him that high. Season before, definitely not. When he was sort of comeback player of the year, I think he was unbelievable that season before. And if you can get that out of him in what was Pete Carroll's last year, then yeah, you put him above it. But at this precise moment, I'd probably say Knicks has probably got a better upside.
Yeah, so that's where I look at the Broncos. I think defense I probably have over everything. O line, it's up there. Oh, and then it's just the weapons for me.
Yeah,
And I think that could be what wins you the division. You know, just small things like that in that division.
yeah. I think the little things will definitely make. I think they've got a good core, but I just think, like you say, is Nick's got enough weapons to be effective? Like if you hadn't got the best wide receivers, but had a stud running back, it might be a different conversation. But he's kind of got like you say, J.K. Dobbins got have injury issues. Cortland Sutton's not really a wide receiver one, so people are going to plan for him a lot more now. So it'd be interesting to see how what Sean Payton sort of plans up. But again, another great coach, so I'm interested to see what he does.
It's a tough one, and then we'll move to the Chiefs there, 1.87.
Yeah, very
So,
short.
so they brought in Fulton, actually, a cornerback. That was a big move, which I think helps them this year. I think that's actually good. And they drafted Simmons as a tackle, and he's a really good tackle. He would have gone higher, but he had a lot of his season injured.
Yeah.
But he was meant to be on paper the most talented offensive tackle. So I look at their team. I must admit, I didn't even like them last season. You know, when I watched them, didn't even think they were that good, but they just win every game.
No, I think they just again a great coach, unbelievable quarterback. Like they just get themselves into positions to win. Like their defense is coached. I think probably one of the best coaches as a defensive coordinator in the history of the game.
Well, I
I,
said about Steve Spags, how has he not got a He must know he's getting the chief job when Reed's done.
like, yeah,
He's got her.
I think that how you see like Aaron Glenn's had one or two good years and he's a head coach. Like you see these coaches that had one, two. What happened with Robert Saleh? It kind of happened with DeMarco Ryans at the Texans. Like they had a good year and then people are handpicking them. Spags has been there for years, but I think they're no matter who comes into it, some of these unknown players, and then they end up being studs.
Yeah.
Like Nick Bolton as the middle linebacker, no one would have said, "Oh, he's going to be amazing." And I think in any other team he wouldn't be. Turns up, he's just stood for, makes big plays. Like their team is just coached very, very well, and I think that's what helps them. But I also think like their offensive line, Patrick Mahomes is just going to be running around trying to for his life. I think this year, like it was bad last year, and they haven't improved it.
Yeah, they brought Simmons in, so that might be.
Yeah, but then they lost Joe Tooney, who's probably one of the best guards. Like
Yeah,
he's gone now. Like they haven't, and then from what's left, they haven't really brought anybody out else in. Trey Smith's probably their best
yeah.
guard. Um, so I think, yeah, I just think you need to protect Mahomes. You protect Mahomes. You put the ball in his hand. He can do magical things. But we've seen it in the Super Bowl. We've seen it in other games where if you put pressure on him and get him running about, you give yourself an opportunity. Like
Well, that Super Bowl was a perfect example of that early on because Philly just bullied it.
yeah, they just battered him and didn't give Mahomes a chance. Like he had studs out wide. Like you look at Xavier Worthy, like he was unbelievable at Texas. Like you look at Rashid Rice. I know he was out for like, the back end of the year, but again, another great player. Like they've got Hollywood Brown. They've still got like Kelsey. Yeah, didn't perform, but he's still a functional, very
He's
functional
still
tight
good.
end.
Yeah.
And I think he's got the weapons, but he's not given the time to hit them. Like you can't get a run game going because Checo just gets stopped at the line of scrimmage. Like, that offensive line was the thing that I thought 1,000,000% the Chiefs were going to address this year, and the draft one tackle I don't think solves that issue.
Yeah,
So
no, I agree. And then like Rice now, I was told yesterday it was confidential, so I'll put it all on here. Apparently, he's definitely going to be a 6 game ban from the start.
exactly, so that you're putting a lot of pressure then on Xavier Worthy, who, as much as I think he was brilliant at college, I don't know whether he's going to be a wide receiver one. I think he'll always be a slot or a two. Like I
Yeah,
don't think you see him sort of carrying
I
that
just think
offense for
he's
him.
one of them. He's one of them players. You know, he goes off one week, gets 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, and then he has 3 weeks of like 2 catches for 27 yards.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he's
Hollywood
yeah,
Brown, though, you know what? When he wasn't injured, he did show glimpses of he'll do all right. Like they
yeah,
got
but
Juju playing okay as well, didn't they? At one point.
yeah, and I think they're always one of them teams that manage to get small glimpses out of these veteran
Mm.
wide receivers that in the big moments. Like look at the Super Bowl that last not this year last year when it um was it Valdez Scandling called up
Yeah.
with some unbelievable moments. So I think I think the Chiefs for me, I think that's where my biggest question mark is. I think they've got the talent, obviously the coaching on both sides of the ball and things like that. It's just, are you going to give Mahomes the time to be able to use them? Because if they don't, they're just going to be like the Super Bowl. Teams know that now. Teams can be like, we're just going to blitz. We're just going to blitz you out and go beat us, try and beat us.
But just think about this. So the four teams we spoke about in this has probably been the most negative one.
Yeah, and I think, but they're going to be up there like they always do. They
You
always
can,
find a way to win.
yeah. But you know what? We'll get to it on the accumulator where you're going.
I'm going Chargers.
Yeah, that to be honest, the Chargers. I kind of swayed to the Broncos just through talking about it, but I think I
I've,
prefer Chargers
I think I
weapons.
was going there until you spoke about the wide receiver and the running back, and it kind of just like as much as their defense is stellar, I just don't see
You got to put
a,
points up to win, ain't you?
exactly like I don't think they're going to be able to, and I think the Chiefs will be in and around it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not
Yeah.
writing the Chiefs off at all. And I think we hold them to such high standard that it's hard to you expect them to be doing better, so you always expect them to be up there. But yeah, I think the Chargers are going to be one of them teams that no one's really ranking at fours as well. Like I think we take the punt.
You know what? We say this, right? And you watch the Chiefs, they'll be the first seed, they'll piss the league and
Oh no, yeah, we'll be sitting here going Chiefs Super Bowl champions, but nah, I think at some point your domination has to come to an end, and potentially that's this year for the Chiefs. From what my gut feeling says.
oh, interesting. The Broncos have gone down today. They've gone to 3-9.
How about that?
Yeah. So we've gone Bills, Ravens, Texans, and Chargers. 18-1 you get on that. So if you put a tenner on, you get 181 back.
Yeah, I think that
That's quite good odds for the four teams.
I think the Chargers are massively helped us out at the end there, but I think I'm quite happy with them. I think we've done some
Yeah.
good picks there.
We'll do the NFC next week and then we can do a big accumulator because there'll be big money on that.
Yeah, man. Look forward to it.
Right. Thanks for coming on, mate. We will finish here and we'll be back next week with the NFC. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.